Welcome everyone to the G3X Podcast. This is episode 15, where it's all God, Gym, Grind, Unfiltered. I'm super excited here. We have a special guest today, Grace. How you doing? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling blessed to be here. So thank you
I
so much
love
for having
it.
me.
Beautiful. No, thank you so much. It's going to be super excited here for the audience listening. I met Grace actually on TikTok, through a live stream there, connecting with if those who have seen the podcast with Alvin, who was episode 8, Soul Chipmunk, one of his lives, Grace was there too. And then we are connected. And here now we are having a podcast with Grace. She has an awesome story to tell. Honestly, her story is super cool, from, let's say, playing basketball overseas professionally to then transitioning into entrepreneurship, content creation, and even in the tech space as well. So some amazing stuff that we'll be talking about today. But let me not steal Grace's thunder. Grace, to the audience, feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, what's your occupation, and we could take it from there.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction. So my name is Grace Morrow. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And like you said, I was an athlete. I played since I was like 5 years old. And now I'm in the tech space. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Awesome.
Where do you want to start first?
For sure. No, I mean, I love it. I found that super interesting from that transition. So talk to me a little bit, since of course G3X Fitness, right? It has that fitness. So starting first a little bit into let's say that athlete side, playing professional overseas basketball. How was that journey? I know you mentioned there in the form when you were filling it out, that also helps with let's say teamwork, resilience. So I would love to hear from you on that as well. So talk to me a little bit about your basketball career at that point in your life.
Yes, perfect. So like I was saying, I'll kind of start from the beginning, but I'll give a brief summary. So I've been playing since I was 5 years old. My dad actually played for the Celtics in the 80s. Fun fact, George
so
Morrow.
Cool.
You can look it up.
Wow, that's awesome.
So basketball has always been a thing, but I actually wasn't pushed to play. Like my mom and my dad, pretty much let me do what I wanted to do, and basketball was just the thing for me. Like my mom said she would put on a game and I would light up. So it's always been basketball for me. So fast forwarding, basically I grew up in Florida mainly in my life, and I was playing there and playing at Disney Worldwide Sports. If you're an athlete, you know about it. And then, my mom's job moved her to Atlanta. So me and my mom moved to Atlanta, and I was playing in high school and a ball. And then I got an opportunity. I went through a lot because I actually had 4 different coaches and 4 different athletic directors at my high school. So that was a lot of transitions. So no stability really in high school. And I just decided to go JUCO. So I went to a 2-year school in the middle of nowhere in Missouri. Well, Sedalia, Missouri. It's not nowhere. And it's called St. Fair Community College. So I played 2 years of community college JUCO. And then I got an opportunity to go to a school in St. Louis. And St. Louis isn't too far from the school I went to in Missouri, the JUCO I went to in Missouri. So I transitioned there, played there for my last 2 years. And then I actually ended up into the working world. So I just started working because it was COVID. I graduated in 2020. I literally did not walk across the stage like all the other 2020 grads. And a lot was going on in my life. And I just was like, I'm going to just start working, because I was too nervous to go overseas with COVID. And I told you, I'm a huge germaphobe before we started. I'm a huge germaphobe. So I was like, I'm just going to start working, and I'll figure it out. So sales is like a big thing in my family. Like my dad he was a car salesman after he played and everything. So, and then my mom, she was at leasing, that's like selling like leasing stores out of the mall. So sales is kind of also in my blood too. So I went the sales route, and I was working for an air purification company for about 2-ish years. And I don't get on Facebook that often. And I actually found like a Facebook message that was sent to me in 2021. And this is like 2023. And I haven't played basketball in 3 years. Keep that in mind. Wow. Like I told you, I just decided to start working. And this message was from an agent. So it was from an agent asking me, hey, are you interested in playing overseas? And he was just like, you can go to school and, get your degree and play basketball overseas. And I'm like, I'm just going to reply. Even though it was like 2-3 years later, I was like, I'm just going to reply. So I replied, and he was like, oh yeah. I said, I haven't played in 3 years. So I can't send you film, you know what I mean? Like current film, like I'm in shape because I still work out, but I'm not in basketball shape. That's a whole different type of shape. And he was like, oh no, like let me reach out to the school called Newcastle University, because he was like, I was telling him how important education is to me. He's like, oh, so you want to go to like a high level school? And I was like, yeah. And I was already working on certifications to get into tech. So I decided to go ahead and literally, like, I was just like, when I got this opportunity, I was like so excited because I was like, oh, I can get my degree in the tech field. So, and overseas in England, they have 1-year degrees, programs that you can do your master's degree and don't have to have a background in what you're going to get your master's degree in. So I jumped headfirst and went for computer science.
Nice.
Like one of the hardest degrees ever with no background, and did it in 1 year. So that's the lie, and we'll get into more into that because we're on the basketball side of things. But the basketball and the tech bleed into each other. So,
wow, okay.
So imagine, so yes, so they were like, oh yeah, we'll take you. I'm a center. I'm a tall girl. I'm 6'2". So they were like, we need a center. So I was like, okay. So went out there and literally I was just like, that's nothing but God, because I didn't play for 3 years. Like my story is wild. I didn't play for 3 years. I didn't have to answer. Like I could have saw them and be like, man, it's too long. Like,
too late.
Yeah, they're not going to take me now. Had I not answered and like something within me just answer. Worst they can say is like, that was old, you know, and then I would have just went about my day. But he answered and I ended up in England, Newcastle, England, playing basketball. Didn't want to leave after. I ultimately want to live overseas now. I loved it that much. And yeah, so that's just a little bit of the basketball side, but I didn't play pro. I played for the school and I wanted to go pro after, but, they kind of try to lowball you when you're starting out. And I was like, I'm ready to get into the money. I just got my master's degree in tech. So let's go into tech. So that's how I went into tech. The dream is actually still not dead for me. I just want to get in the tech field, and, I could possibly still play in like a tournament here or there. I still work out. I'm not out of shape. So it's not dead. I feel like it's delayed. I feel like that's my whole story. What for me was delayed, not denied.
I like that. No, and I like how you mentioned that, exactly what you said in that aspect of it. Like, it's not too late, right? Because exactly like you said, you know, another person could have seen that message like, oh, you know what, why even bother responding? 2 years ago. I'm a big Gary Vee fan. So it's like that's one thing that he mentions a lot in his content is like, hey, it's never too late, right? So people are like, oh, I'm in your 40s. It's too late. Like, hey, you still have like 60 more years left in your life, etc. So I love that you mentioned that, because that's so real. Like, it's never too late. It's like, hey, exactly like you said, what's the worst that can happen? They don't respond, or it's like, hey, too late. But it's so much more upside than downside in that regards. The worst, okay, they say no, but then if they do respond, I mean, look at you now, right? It opens so many other opportunities that otherwise didn't. So I think that was super awesome that you shared that, especially with the audience. There's like, hey, whatever they may be going through, whatever age, etc. Hey, it's never too late, you know, like go for it, you know. And the fact that even Grace herself, which we're going to get into as well, you know, to say, and it's also, I will say, it's never too late. And it's also cool to switch. And what I mean by switch is like, you know, you had your time with basketball, like everything has its season, right? You had your season in basketball. You wanted to continue, but then like you saw, let's say, better upside, better returns into tech. And then you switch, let's say, from, you know, basketball into tech. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, right? It's like a lot of people are sometimes scared to make that shift. Like, oh, I'm already here. And they want to stay maybe in that little comfort zone. But sometimes you just have to like get out of that comfort zone and do something different. And that leads you to who knows where, right?
That's where the growth is. That's honestly where the growth is. And I'm so grateful. And it's funny because the word it applies to basketball and life, but pivot. Like, that's what I did. I just pivot. Literally.
Yep. Literally.
Like, I pivoted into, you know, the tech space, and I'm grateful because I actually got my undergraduate in communication. So when I say I had no background in the tech world, I had no background, but I always had interest. So anybody can do it.
And I think that's key too. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but it's like you said, and that interest, it was like, as long as you have that curiosity, I think that's super important, right? That curiosity, it really doesn't matter your background. If, let's say, you have a degree or not, or if you do, it's not in what you want to get into now versus maybe what degree you did get it prior, etc. As long as you have that curiosity, you have that hunger, and with now technology nowadays, you can really learn anything relatively pretty quick, or at least at a good level to like get it going, right? And at the end of the day, we all know this, that you only get the real experience comes from doing it, no matter how many books or tutorials or classes or seminars you take, it's like, go do it, right?
Yep. It's just like, I alluded to basketball. If you don't practice, your jump shot's going to be off. You're not going to be able to get up and down the court. If you don't work out, it just goes hand in hand. Like, that's why I'm really appreciative to have played a sport, because it really teaches you that resilience I was talking about, that follow through, that persistence. I think if I had not played basketball, just some things that I've been through, like in my personal life, I probably wouldn't have pushed through. Because, not picking on anybody that hasn't played sports or in any capacity, but I've seen where people who aren't athletes, I've seen, or like had some of that athletic background, that they just don't have the push through, because as an athlete, you have to push through with your coach yelling in your face, with your back hurting, with your neck hurting, with your jammed the finger, you hurt your knee. Like, you have to push through that. So it's just like, it's in life, things are going to happen, but you have to push through it ultimately to get, the desired outcome that you want. So
100%, right? Like we say here, godgymgrind, and that grind aspect, like, hey, grind it out. Whatever life throws at you, grind it out. And you're a living testament of that. I used to, when I was much younger, I was never in a team or played, but when I was younger, I would go like to the parks there and play basketball heavy. So I know on that aspect of, let's say, like, putting in the work, I would sometimes go early in the morning, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. to like the parks, start practicing, etc., dribbling, this and that. And like just like in the gym, how we say, hey, put in the reps, the same thing there applies with basketball as well. Just like, you got to push through. You got to, like, ultimately, they say growth is painful at the end of the day. It's not something easy, which is why it's growth ultimately. But there you go. And I like how you mentioned that resilience aspect, because I think that's fair 100%. Whenever it comes to something worth getting, there's always going to be challenges to face, resilience that you're going to face. And that's why it's, that's why I think it's, let's say, fun to attain, for lack of a better word. Maybe fun isn't the right word, but like, that's why that process of trying to get to attain that, let's say, goal, because it is difficult, right? That's why it's like, I remember saw this one person saying, hey, you want to live a 1% life, so it's going to be extremely difficult. It's like, if you want to live a 1% life, you got to do like those 1% actions that no one's really wanting to do or take, etc., right? Now, let me also ask you the following. I know you also mentioned one of the things there you mentioned with respect to like basketball, like, let's say, like, teamwork and culture. That's one of the things I want to talk about, because I know even especially in the corporate world, working with people, your coworkers, there's always like people that in teams as well, people that, let's say, are jealous of you, want to help you, don't want to help you, like, hey, why are you picking them to play, starting them, not me? It's the things like, so how did you handle that aspect as well?
Oh my gosh, great question. So teamwork, it's funny. Teamwork has been instilled in me at a very young age, because in my middle school, I went to school in Florida, and I literally am still Facebook friends with my kindergarten teacher and my principal. And the motto of the school was teamwork makes the dream work. So that's something that's been instilled in me. And then a shout out to the Backseat Wildcats. But literally, it's something that's always been instilled in me. And I really value teamwork. That's why I think I really enjoy sales, because there's usually like a teamwork aspect, like, hey, we got to get the sale. Like, what do you need help from me? And here and there. But basketball, ultimately, I'm a center. If the point guard or any other guards don't pass me the ball, I'm not getting the ball. So, others, you know what I mean? So it's a teamwork, it's a teamwork sport. If it was, there's sports where it's only you and you have to do low. But when it comes to basketball, or soccer or anything that's a team sport, you need your team members. And I've had team members where we bumped heads. I've had team members where, no, I do not like them as a person, but they're a really good basketball player. But I feel like I've always given anybody that I play with the same level of respect that I would want. Like, you're not going to like everybody that you meet, right? But hey, you both have a common goal, and a big, especially in my JUCO that we went to, we were pretty successful at State Fair Community College. I went there from 2016 to 2018, and we literally won a lot of games and turned the program around. We didn't have much drama, but when we did, we were like, hey, leave that off the court. This is the time to get stuff done. We're trying to win. We have goals. Right. We're trying to get to our next schools and, do great. So I really appreciated that we were pretty mature, because in JUCO, that's freshman, sophomore year. So we were really young, and just having respect for people that's in your everyday lives. You're going to work with people in corporate world or in life that you're not going to like, or you're not going to mesh with, or you don't have the same beliefs, or just different things. And you have to work through that. So I literally, just going into what I do now, I work for an aviation tech IT solutions company. So they have a large portfolio where they sell the biometric systems to airports and airlines.
Oh, wow.
I mean, from the APIs to what else? The messaging systems, the database system. It's just, It's a vast portfolio. So when I try to explain it, I'm like, it's a lot of solutions they sell to airports and airlines. And everybody's like, you work for the airport? I'm like, no, I work for the solution. This is why we have to pay for baggage and things like this, because they're paying the tech company to support them, and
gotcha. Okay, nice. The back end, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I'm a tech sales. I just say I'm an aviation tech sales. So this is literally my 4th week. I literally just started, but I have a crazy story about what's for you is for you, because I graduated technically in December with my master's degree, and I've been applying to many roles, and I really wasn't hearing back that much because it had just been the holidays. A lot was going on with the election, and I think things were just moving weird. So I came into the working world. It's almost like I'm going into the world, and 20, and then all this happening with the plans and the election. So, yes, going back to what I was saying. So I literally had a job offer before this job that I got. And it was for $20K less than what I'm making now. And it was a remote IT support position, because I just was like, I just need to get my feet wet more in the tech, because I got a 1-year master's degree in computer science. And they ghosted me. I had a verbal offer, and they ghosted me. And I got this opportunity at the aviation tech job that I work in now. And it was seamless. The process was seamless. I was hired in a week and a half. So I went through 3 rounds, and my now manager, within 5 minutes, she was like, I'm moving you on to the next round. She's like, I'm not supposed to tell you that, but I'm moving you on to the next round within 5 minutes. I was like, wow. It was so effortless, seamless. And the week before I started at my job was the week I was supposed to start at the other jobs. And I was just like, wow, God, making $20K more. I love the work environment, because if I worked the other one, I would have just been fully remote. But I love my work environment because it's an international company. So their headquarters is in Switzerland. And that's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, I want to grow here because I want to get back overseas for sports. I just want to live overseas. And literally, what's even crazier? Most of the people in there and the sales team play sports.
What? There you go.
Actually play basketball. There was even
basketball.
There's a woman from Lebanon, and she was a coach in basketball. She loves basketball. She's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the WNBA games, and I'm like,
yeah, okay, say less. No, that's awesome. There you go. Exactly like you said earlier, what's for you is for you. 100%, right? And I've been in similar situations before, before even starting G3X and this, where it's hey, okay, I'm looking for some work. Let's see what, initially I was going into something with respect to marketing or like that type of like social media SEO. I was like searching for those things because I wanted to gain more experience on that to then apply it for G3X. I had it, like I had already the idea, but it was still there, like in the, like it wasn't as the main thing yet type of stuff, right? So then I was like, okay, applying and you know, same thing like you said, like not really anything, like nothing there, even with my background, with my old job and everything of doing those things, etc. And so I was like, okay. And then I was able to like stumble upon like this place with LinkedIn. It was actually even a job. Actually, it was actually more of an internship. But I was like, okay, this looks interesting. At least it could possibly give me the experience on that. And then through that, I connected with so many people that I'm not there in the internship anymore, but I'm still in communication with them, that some of them are actually helping me in some of the stuff with G3X, with some of like the designs or some of the other stuff. And so it's like, hey, just like you said, what's for you is for you, because some of these other positions, same thing. I would have like interviews, everything looked good. Even the guy, the interview himself, like, hey, you're a really good candidate. So he's like, but nothing came about. And you're like, what the heck? You know, right? It gets something, you get a little frustrated. You're like, you doubt yourself. Is it me? Like, am I that bad or what the heck? I know my stuff, you know, like I know myself, and not in like in a cocky way, but it's like, you know what you know type of stuff, right? And so it's like, okay, what then? But you know, God's timing is perfect. Sometimes we don't understand it, even though many months pass until the right position hits, and then you're like, wow. And then you look back after, you're like, wow, if that hadn't happened, if I wouldn't have met these people, and look where it is now. So it's just cool how everything, it connects. It really does connect, and it's super cool. I'm always fascinated by that, and you can see the excitement as I talk about it, because hearing other people share their stories about that, it's like, wow, it's just so cool how life ebbs and flows, but you know, you just keep chugging along, keep persevering, keep persisting, not quitting. It does work out.
It really does. It really does. Like, and it's so crazy because, you know, sometimes we'll get frustrated when things didn't work out our way. But I really feel like either rejection or, you know, it's really God's protection. Like, it's a little cliche, but it's so true. Like,
so true.
I remember getting so mad at like some things, and I'm like, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy it worked out that way. Because like you just said, if that did not happen, I would not have this, or I would not have this type of mind, or this wouldn't have changed. So, and God knows exactly what he's doing, like literally. So right now, like I've been in actually a season where I'm getting closer to God, and I've just been in full surrender mode. Like I'm controlling what I can control. But if it's like confusing, or like I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, I just give it to God, because I'm like, okay, it's your will, not mine, and your understanding, my understanding. So I just totally surrender. But going back to your point where you said about the mentor, like you said you had a mentor and you were doing an internship, or you were doing
an internship, yep.
Got you. Actually, during that time of me looking for the job and everything, I got a mentorship in the midst of that. And what's for you is for you. This is going back to that. My sister is a celebrity hairstylist in Atlanta here, and she was doing this woman's hair. They were talking about tech, and she was like, I own a cloud, it's called Cloud Tech Academy. I'm shouting you out. Dr. Jamila.
Hey, let's go.
But so basically she owns her own tech academy where she teaches people about the cloud space and roles within the cloud space. So like admin roles or cloud engineering roles and things like that with Salesforce, AWS, etc. And did a 3-month internship with her. It was great. Like you know how some people can be gatekeepers?
Yeah.
Like, and they want to give you the information.
Right.
Yeah. No, she's like, here, what do you want to know about this? What do you want to know about this? Ask me about this. And not just the tech space, like life, financially. Wow. Like, I just so grateful for her, because you don't find that often, you know, in people. So I'm just so grateful. But yeah, so she told my sister was like, oh, my sister just graduated with her computer science degree. She's looking for work, you know, and she connected us, and she's like, oh yeah, just have her reach out to me on Instagram. So I reached out, and she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for reaching out. You know, some people don't really do, you know, reach out. And I'm like, oh no, I'm a networking queen. Okay. Nice. You said so, I'm going to reach out. So reached out to her. She was great. She's like, yeah, let's do a 3-month internship. And I basically ran her social media, wrote some articles for her, and did some stuff on her website. And it was just history. And now we have that connection forever. So if you're interested in getting into the cloud space, hit up Dr. Jamila, Cloud Tech Academy on Instagram, or www.cloudtechacademy.com. So
there you go. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. There you go. And that's what it's all about. I think like one of the things, shouting out Alvin, that, from the prior episode there too, how he has his podcast or his little saying there, podcast saying as like connections over currency. I don't know if you ever discussed that with you, but like connections over currency. And like you said, it's like, a lot of times, especially I would say more in social media sometimes, especially TikTok. I would say especially TikTok, right? Everyone gets so caught up in those lives with those battles and everything. Nothing wrong. I think they're super cool, right? They're fun. I don't do them as much because I focus more on the brand. I feel it's kind of weird, like from a brand doing a battle. That's just my but like, I think they're super cool. And at the same time, it's another way to meet people, because as you're battling, you could be talking to the other person, even though most of the time they're just talking with their own audience and they mute the other creator.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's a cool way to meet. But at the same time, I would do say is like, sometimes people get so lost, let's say, in like maybe the battles or getting the coins, the gifts, etc. That like, hey, there's someone on the other side there that could have a cool story, could have a cool connection. I mean, look at us. We met because of social media, right? And, I think sometimes we do get lost on that aspect of money over making true connections, because we've all heard this saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's like, as you go through the different things, you learn different, working with different people, how some people are, some people don't. And like you said, like some people don't, like they don't gatekeep. They're willing to like share with you everything. And I've been in both sides of that, where certain people you could tell like, they don't really want to like show you certain things. Then other people are much more open. And you learn over time that the ones who are really, let's say, confident of what they know, and they're willing to really like share with you everything, because at the end of the day, they're at a whole other level. They're going to keep growing at the end of the day, the experience gap in a sense. And so it's like, hey, I've been in that situation too, where let's say some of the stuff I know, I'm like, hey, if I could help someone, it's going to help them avoid certain mistakes that I did. Like, why not? Because the way I see it is like, one day it's me helping this person. Another time it's someone else, let's say, helping me, right? Like you reap what you sow at the end of the day. And that's something that really resonates with me, that it's like, hey, whatever I can do to help you, I'm all for it. Because one day it's me helping you, the next day it's someone else helping me. It won't necessarily be that same person that I helped, right? It could be someone else, but it pays back itself,
Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't understand gatekeepers for many reasons. One, just on the moral aspect, like, okay, wouldn't you, if you were in this position, you want somebody to help you, like treat others how you want to be treated? And then also, like you said, the confidence, like they should be confident in, what they're doing. And then also, when you share information with people, they don't follow exactly how you followed it. They have their own scenarios. They have their own path. God has their own plan for them. So they're not going to do exactly how you do. So with the information, like you did it in different times, different states, different countries, different backgrounds. It's really not going to hurt. But I get, in this world, we're all this capitalistic society. So we're like, we don't want you to know all you know, and then now I can't do what I'm doing. So,
Exactly. And I think it goes back, because I know you also mentioned with your like content creation side of things. And I think that's something important that I've even talked with a couple of guests in the past in other podcasts. So when it comes to content creation, it's like ultimately, right, being yourself, being authentic, and just talking about what at the end of the day, you provide value in your content, whatever that value may be. It could be like something educational, insightful, right? All those things. That builds trust with your audience, whoever that audience is, where in a sense, people want to work with you because you give so much away. But, there's always those people that, let's say, they'll consume the content, but won't actually let's say, here are the best 5 tips of making a sale. Let's say you in like sales, right? As an example, right? And so people are like, wow, that's so cool. I trust this person, but they will never they'll never apply those steps for whatever reason, right? So they rather just have someone else hire and let them do it, right? That's why all these service-based business exists in the first place. And so it's like you build, in a sense, right? Like you give more and you actually get more back, right? Because whoever sees that content, let's say, like, hey, you know what? I trust this person. I want to work with this person. And so by you giving your secrets, right? It's like it actually brings more business back, because it just builds, credibility and so forth. And I think you could be I think you've seen that for yourself in your own career with other people, that the lady that you were mentioning there and so forth, right? That it like she gave you so much value that, hey, you're like, shout out to her, which is awesome. And like, that could even bring her more business in the future. And like, she wasn't holding back anything, right? I think that's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Yep. Beautiful. No, I love it. Now, let me ask you the following here as well. I know something I want to talk about, Grace. We didn't really discuss it in the forum, but I think it's something cool that I really like hearing more about your story. Talk to me if you don't mind talking about it in the podcast. And talk to me, let's say, your experience, let's say in business, maybe in sports, if it happened, etc. Of like, let's say a woman in tech, right? As a woman in tech, or like woman in sports, right? Other women listening to this podcast that maybe want to get into tech are nervous of like certain, let's say, stereotypes of like a woman getting into tech, whatever, things of that sort. I really would love if you want to share any of things you've experienced from a negative standpoint that you overcame, and hey, don't let this hold you back, etc., or anything there that you have to share on that.
Gotcha. Nice. Right on time, because it was just International Women's Day the other day, and my company shouted all the women out, and I was on this nice post. So right on time.
Awesome.
So
love it. There you go.
So being a woman in tech, definitely we're still on the shorter end of the percentage, and being a woman of color is even smaller than that percentage. Mm-hmm. So I feel like so far, especially like when I started my tech journey. So when I went overseas and got my degree, I was literally I was in England, so this is why, but I was only African American to graduate with this degree in my class, and definitely the only woman of color, no matter what, like where you come from, in the class. And I remember it was 3 Americans. I was one of 3 Americans in the class, and they were like, "Why are you here getting your education?" And we were like, we're trying to have the experience, and get the education. And I just remember like being like, it was not that many women in the course, like, so I didn't have many people to bounce off, or like I would talk to some of my classmates, and some of them were more reserved, and I had to figure things out. But then they came around once they saw like, okay, she knows what she's talking about, and okay, we'll help her out here, or so I think just being a woman in tech, don't have to, and in this day and age, if you see, you don't have to go the educational route like me. There are some tech roles that are, tech jobs that are non-technical, and then there's some that are technical. If it's more technical, you obviously need more education on it. But there's a lot of things that you can do online with doing certs. Like I said, before I even went the route of getting my degree, I went with certs. So it can go either way. But being a woman in tech, being that I'm pretty early, but I'm seeing that they'll kind of, some of the men in the industry, they'll write you off like, oh, I don't know what she didn't know what she's talking about, let me break it down, or, and then some people are more receptive to, like I do have questions because I am newer to tech. So some are more receptive, but overall, I feel like I'm in a good space, and I'm confident now that I definitely have the MSc behind my name. Beautiful. And I'm still learning and growing, but I think people in tech are aware that tech is always changing. So everybody's still learning and growing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't stay the same. Right. So you have to pivot. So I do see that there's some grace with that. But yeah, so being a 6'2" woman that walks in every day, I get all the eyes. I should, if anybody who's on my social media, know that I'm strutting my stuff because I show my outfits every day.
I saw that. Yeah. Dang, I was like, yo, this is fancy. I like it. No, I like that. I was like, yo, this is super dope. Okay.
Yes, I wear my hair just like this because this is me. I don't hide behind it, but I love that I'm lucky enough to be in a space where it's accepted. It's an international company. It's a diverse company. Not everybody gets that, So I will say I'm lucky. I'm really lucky where I landed. So I would just say to any woman that's trying to get into tech, or any woman athlete trying to get into tech, just go in there with the willingness and ready to learn every day, because you're never going to stop learning. So be open to learning and speak up when you feel like it's necessary. In any room, even if you don't know, ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions, because 9 times out of 10, they might not know either. Like I said, it's constantly learning. Like I'm in a space where I'm learning. I know nothing about aviation. I am getting a full crash course on aviation terms, like acronyms, and tech already has a million acronyms.
Facts.
I'm learning aviation acronyms on top of that. So I would just say, just be open, willing to learn, and just put your best foot forward, and you'll be fine. And if you need any advice, you can reach out to me. I'm getting more into the tech world in my social media. Right now, you were talking about content creation, but I more so posted like concert content because I love music, but I'm transitioning more into hair content and talking about the tech world. And I have a little bit of basketball things on my page. It's more like lifestyle content.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Nah, I like it. And by the way, guys, even though we're a little early, I always mention it towards the end, but if anything, all of Grace's socials will be in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube or even listening to this on Spotify or Apple, it'll be on the description. So you guys can give her a follow there as well. Love it. No, and I think that's important. Like what you said, like the environment, of course, definitely helps for sure, right? Especially if you're in a supportive environment. I think that's always the best, right? I've been fortunate enough where same thing. I've been like in the different like things I've been involved with respect to like work and like those contractor positions that I've mentioned about is like, I always felt good, right? Now, there were times where you're like you said, since I started kind of young, so before even getting into fitness or anything, what I used to do was like production. So basically if you ever been into like a concert, you said you like concerts, you see all those lighting effects and strobes and all that. There's usually some guy behind a console who took time to like program all that. Either they time coded, whatever, etc. So that's what I used to do back then. Like I had two friends who were like into like videography and sound engineering. And so I met them and they were also like doing like lighting, like light programming is what it's called, lighting designing, light programming. And so since I was just hanging out with them, I was like, hey, lighting looks cool. Like then they kind of started teaching me. And so that's where I started learning and then kind of just started meeting with like a production company and kind of like went from there, etc. And so like, since I started young, I remember like the first place I was at, I was like 15, 16, I was still learning myself for sure. But like you said, sometimes they take you kind of for granted. They say like, oh, what does he know? And I mean, fair enough, like obviously I was young, but there was still stuff that at least I had the creativity of coming up with ideas, right? Maybe not the exact technical know-how or experience for sure, but at least I have some good creative ideas. And, they like took it for like, whatever, who cares, And so, of course, younger, something that kind of gets you a little, let's say, salty or a little like hurt, etc., where you feel like, not taken, not appreciated. But looking back at it now, like, everything happens for a reason. It's like, at the same time, sometimes those things happen. I would say that happen because it just teaches you your own self-worth that no matter where you are, regardless if people appreciate you or not, like, hey, you know what you're worth, right? And so that was a good experience for me on that regards. And now I've been, like I said, fortunate enough to be surrounded with like different people, both now in G3X and other places where like, hey, we're all like supporting each other. We all help each other. And, you feel good in the work environment, let's say that you're in. And I think that's super important. And I would say to those who are in a room where they don't feel accepted or they don't feel appreciated, in those cases, like I literally remember seeing a video the other day of like Gary Vee where he was like, well, screw the room. Like, if they don't, it's their loss, but don't tolerate that. If like, hey, you know what, if they're not, just go somewhere else, right? The good thing also I feel people should also be aware of, hey, we're in control, right? We're in control of what we are, if let's say, I know maybe it's not as easy finding a new job or this, but it's possible, right? You can network, social media, connect, etc. Right? As we were mentioning, connections over currency, right? Because it's ultimately who that can give you like the different hookups and everything of that sort. That's actually what I was going to say prior. I'm not going to lie. I kind of drew a little blank as I was talking, but when I was referring back that contractor job, what I was trying to say back then too was like a lot of those different positions I've been were all connections. Like some of my friends that connected me with someone else. And so I've been fortunate enough to like do a lot of, let's say, contractor type jobs, freelance type positions. And it was all through connections more than just focusing on like who's paying me the most or whatever. It's just like connections. So that was that story. But anyways,
And that's how I got my job off of LinkedIn.
There you go.
Don't sleep on LinkedIn.
Let's talk a little bit actually about that. Let's say social media. I know everyone always talks social media. They think Instagram, TikTok, but let's actually talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn I feel is so underrated, especially I would say for like the younger crowd. Like, I'm 26 and like even people in my age group. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. Hey, let's go. So it's like, I feel like a lot of us in our age group take LinkedIn, that's for like old folks or like, like LinkedIn is so clutch, because I've connected with some people there through LinkedIn as well. And it's like so organic. When I say so organic, like it's not like let's say someone likes your comment, that person who likes your comment, their followers could see that, hey, so-and-so liked this comment. So it gives you more reach. So if you have things to share in, let's say, business, entrepreneurship, in tech, in sports, and you could have just applied through some kind of, let's say, professional kind of tone, so that at the end of the day, everyone's LinkedIn, they're more in a business mindset. So you can still share your own experiences, but maybe like in a more business-like tone, in a sense, as you post either text or videos. And I think that's a really, really good way to like network, connect with others. You could search based off of job positions if you're looking for like some kind of job or some people to network with, etc. So I think definitely LinkedIn is a super powerful platform. I would say starting this year is when I started getting deeper with LinkedIn, and I was like, oh wow, there's some good stuff here. It's not just a job recruiter place.
No, I've been on LinkedIn for a while, but my mom's been on it. She pushed me on it, and I literally use it more than Facebook. Like I'm active. Like I'll send you my LinkedIn so you can connect.
Definitely we connect. Yeah, for sure. I was never about to tell you that.
You're like, girl is so active on here.
I love it. Nice. No, I love it.
Don't sleep on it, y'all. Don't sleep on it. Please don't.
Facts.
It's a great tool.
And I would say when we say don't sleep on it, don't just like scroll and like just like if you engage, you really have to, especially LinkedIn, because people will view your profile, they'll see what you have on you. So make sure your LinkedIn bio, etc., is set up well, a good picture of yourself, a good bio of what you're looking or what you're providing, etc. And people will definitely be looking at. I've replied to a lot of comments. I follow, let's say, like in business, let's say I follow Gary Vee, I follow Alex Hermosi, and some other people like in marketing and so forth. So I see some of their comments, and I comment back. And then you see like so-and-so viewed your profile, so-and-so viewed your profile, so-and-so wants you to connect. So like people are looking, people are watching, especially on LinkedIn, right? So it's like engage, find what you're interested in. If you're in, let's say you're in tech sales, search tech sales on LinkedIn and position, title, and you could just start seeing a bunch of people, see what you like, follow them, connect, send them a message, right? A lot of people actually respond. I was actually at a small, here in Miami last week, the Small Business Expo, right? SBE, Small Business Expo. I think they might have one in Atlanta. I'm not sure. Double check. I know they have in a bunch of different states.
So many events in Atlanta.
So SBE, so SBE, and one of the keynote speakers, he was talking about, it was Custom Contact. That was the company, Custom Contact, right? They're like a CRM. And so basically, he was talking about certain things with social media and different ways to use social media, different platforms, from Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc. And then he was also like, hey guys, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm like, okay, actually right there at that moment, I connected. I sent a little message. How when you can connect, you can send a personalized note when you connect. Yeah. So I send him that.
Remind them who you are.
Within 10 minutes after he finished his keynote, he's like accepted. Hey, thank you so much for being the speaker, and he's like one of the head, I don't know who, I forgot the exact position, but he's like some key role in Custom Contact as like one of the key like positions there. So like, okay, cool. That was a great connection. In the future, G3X, if I ever need something like that, boom, I have that one connection that wouldn't have happened otherwise if I didn't just decide to send a message. Like you just said earlier, what's the worst that can happen? They don't connect. Hey, no harm done. You weren't connected anyways in the first place. So what does it matter?
Exactly. Literally, when I was at work, there was somebody I was just talking to. I found him on LinkedIn. He was like, I was just going to go find you on LinkedIn. And I was like, hey, great minds think alike. Like I'm telling you, use it. It's like, just use it. And like, what else would I say about like what's really important on there? Make sure your resume is up to date, not just like through LinkedIn, and make sure you have your certifications on there. Get some recommendations on there. Yep. Like I got recommendations from a lecturer at my school, a classmate from my school on there. Like just you try to complete as many fields as possible and reach out and look up people in your field. Like you said, like look up articles, like it, repost it, engage, and you'll find
you'll find your exactly 100%. Yep. No, I love it. I love it. No, Grace, it's been so awesome truly having you on this podcast. We've talked some amazing stuff. Now, let's say if there was one, let's say actually, before getting into that question that I always end with, another question. I haven't asked this to anyone this year, so you're the first person. It just dawned on me, like, would there be, before finishing this podcast, and, you know, that final question I always like to ask everyone with, would there be any other questions that you wish I had asked you in this podcast that you would like to leave the audience with as well?
You asked so many great ones. I don't know. We touched on basketball. We touched on tech. We touched on, we touched on content creating. I maybe a little bit more about God, because God, gym, grind. But I mean, I said, you know, my stance on it. You maybe didn't know like where I stood with the God part, but maybe more questions about my faith and about God. So you want me to share?
We have a few more minutes. Yeah, share one little thing there that you've experienced on that for sure. Definitely love it.
I'm an overthinker.
I'm with you there.
I have been really unlearning that. Hey, if it's out of my control, what did I say earlier? I gotta surrender. There's nothing. I have done all that I can. I have asked all the questions. I have done all the things I can physically, mentally do, and let it go. Like, and let God. I'm trusting him. And he's like, you can't just trust me a little bit. And I feel like that's why we get tested in we're in certain seasons of our life to test our faith. Like, he threw that at me like, okay, with the, let's go back to which part? Okay, the phone call, like, are you gonna, like, you see it popped up 2-3 years later, but are you gonna answer it? Or are you gonna be like, doubt yourself? And I just answered it. And sometimes you're gonna answer things and you're gonna get the answer, and sometimes you're not gonna get the answer that you want. But that doesn't mean that it's not the answer that it's supposed to be to get you to where you're going. So just totally surrendering. And I'm so grateful, and gratitude. Gratitude is a big thing. Like, no matter where I'm at in my life, like, I show gratitude, like, and I'm just so thankful, because I just know where I've come from and what I've been through. And trust me, I do not look like at all what I've been through. So wow, I'm grateful for that.
Glory to God. That's God right there.
That's God. So yeah, that's all I was saying. I'm just,
for sure,
all glory to him. I'm so glad.
Amen. No, and that's one of the things there as well, where like God, gym, grind, that God part, right? God, gym, grind. God first, hit the gym, grind whatever life throws at you. That God first part. So that ultimately came about because I like to read Proverbs a lot, right? Because of all the wisdom that's literally like, I've read that so many times. And even to this day, I'm like, you know, I feel like I still got to read it even more, because there's a lot of things I should be applying. It's like, you know, someone cuts you on the road and you're like, oh God, this guy, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, stuff like that. But one of the words that hit me, you know, like I could say there's probably like 2 verses, maybe honestly, this main one that I read it that one time. And then that one time it just hit me so good that it's like I've never forgotten it, right? There's many verses that are like, wow, this one's good. I liked it. But then it's like, oh crap, I forgot exactly how it said it or so forth. Like you know the message, but you forgot exactly. But this one, which was Proverbs 3:5-7, right? Which I've mentioned a lot in different content that I posted, like, which is trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. I remember the first time I read that, I was like, it hit me so hard, and like it's resonated with me ever since. Like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. That's something that I always check myself, because let's say in entrepreneurship, you're running your own business. You basically are calling your own shots. Like, okay, I'm going to do this on my website. I'm going to start selling this product. I'm going to put it at this price. I'm going to post this content. I'm going to DM this person if they're interested in a collaboration, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to do this podcast, right? So it's like, a lot of times you're kind of like calling your own shots, but then it's a lot of times I have to like step back. It's like, hey, God, do you actually want me to do this? Is this actually part of you, right? Do you really want me to do this, or is it just my own will? And it's like, hey, I don't want to lean on my own understanding. I want you to guide my path, right? And then that's like so hard, let's say, sometimes, and worse, because sometimes when like you said, in those silent moments, or let's say it's not that God is not sometimes not listening to you, but he's like testing you, like, hey, are you actually going to trust me or not? Right? Are you going to like wait for me to guide you or just do your own thing? Right. Exactly. And so that's one of the biggest things where that God first comes into play, that, hey, put God first, like may he guide you in every decision in, you know, business, life, relationships, whatever the case may be. May he just guide you. And just like you said, it might not be the answer you want, but hey, that means he's got something even better for you. Now, that better for you could be a year from now, could be 6 months from now, right? It doesn't have to be the next day, you know, and that's the part, our patience that we have to learn. But same thing, I've been in my situations in, let's say, business where, or even like, let's say, searching for other jobs in the past before, we're like, oh, wow, okay, you know, I wanted this one, but it didn't have to be. And then something better came along, right? I'm like, oh, wow, thank you, God, because, you know, again, thank you for saying, for that opportunity not working out, because this one even better came about. And you just never know until after. In one of the podcasts I mentioned is a quote from Steve Jobs, but I think it's so beautiful, which is like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You could only connect the dots looking back. And that's from Steve Jobs, where it's like, hey, certain things happen in life that at that moment makes no sense. And we're like, hey, God, why did this even happen? You know, I don't get it. You look back when X amount later and you're like, oh, snap. Thank God that happened, because I bumped into this person. I connected here. I got this job. I networked there. And look where I'm at now, right? And so I think that's the most beautiful thing. So I love how you said that, you know, exactly, let God take the ropes and may he take over, right? Because, you know, we might not know, but he does. And at the end of the day, he already knows your beginning and end. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to follow someone that already knows, let's say, the finish line to where you're going to get, you know? And so it's like, you know, if you have a map, if you're lost, you go at a map. So it's like, what better map than God himself, who already knows your beginning and your end, and just follow him, right? Easier said than done, but the concept is that simple.
Yes, the concept is so simple and so clear. And just tying into that, huge prayer lately of mine has just been better discernment. Because I'm like, okay, yes, I just need better discernment, because I want to. And it's funny, my name's Grace, and I give people grace. A lot, no pun intended, but I'm just like, Lord, I want to see the good in everybody, but he's like, no, I showed you these red flags. Why didn't you believe me? But I'm like, gosh. Yes, you know, no, leave them alone. You showed them what I want you to show them already. Leave it alone. So that's what I'm like, asking God to show that more to me. Yep.
No, it's not easy, but yeah. And I would say same thing. That's something I pray on the daily. It's so cool that you mentioned, like, hey, discernment, right? Like knowing what exactly is your will. Is that the correct person for me or not? When I say person, not so much relationship, but like anything, business or like work-wise, etc. You know, like, is that the right person, or is that the right content? Is that the right thing to say, etc.? So yeah, 100%. I think discernment and wisdom being the most crucial parts on that. And I love that. No, definitely, Grace. And now let's say then, toward, you know, the conclusion of this podcast, as I mentioned to you earlier, what would be, let's say, one final piece of advice that you would want to give the audience listening to this podcast that you could offer?
One piece of advice. So I have tatted on me, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure, by Nelson Mandela. And it was in 2 movies, Aquila and the Bee, and it was also in Coach Carter.
Nice. So Coach Carter's a good one. Yeah.
And it just meant so much to me. Like, okay, we all know you're gonna have failures. Like, things are gonna happen. You're gonna fail, and that's not what you're really ultimately afraid of. You're afraid of like that growing, because when you get, you know, to higher levels, that growth, like people are actually scared to grow and what comes with that. So it's just saying, don't be afraid of yourself. You're your own worst enemy. That's what I take from it. So it's like, basically my advice would be, get out your own way, like pray for discernment and do what you're called to do, and focus on your goals and lean on to his understanding and not your own. So those would be my little nuggets.
There you go. You guys heard that here first, guys, on the G3X podcast. Grace, no, truly was awesome having you as a guest. I loved it. We definitely got to do another follow-up part 2 to continue talking more. There's a lot more we can talk about as well. Yeah. So I loved it. No, but thank you so much for being here. Also, if the audience wanted to follow you on socials, what socials are you on? What platforms would you want them to follow you on?
course, yes. So Instagram and TikTok, same thing. Say_your grace. Real simple.
I love it. Beautiful. No, and like I said, guys, it'll be in the description below, so you guys can like give her a follow. She's awesome. Follow her on TikTok. I believe you still every so often go live on TikToks and so forth, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can catch her there on the live, there interact, or even on Instagram too. So again, thank you guys so much. If you guys aren't aware of who we are, G3X Fitness, we're a fitness clothing brand, all about that God, gym, grind lifestyle. So beyond the merch, it's a lifestyle, as I like to say. God first, hit the gym, and grind through whatever life throws at you. So we're here focusing on building a brand and a community behind this, and chugging along we go with the podcast. So it's been super fun. Every Friday, we upload a new episode at 10 a.m. So again, appreciate everyone listening to this podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and you can follow us on different socials, Instagram, Facebook, everything's there in the description. Appreciate you all. God, gym, grind. And then until the next one, peace out, everyone.